The Nun is making its way back to movie theaters to frighten fans once again. Will the demon Valak prevail over Sister Irene this time? And how will it all connect to the broader Conjuring universe? On August 24, 2022, Warner Bros. Announced some updates to its slate of upcoming film releases. While its most notable schedule changes concern tentpole superhero projects, that announcement also included the first mention of a release date for The Nun 2. The planned release date for the horror sequel is September 8, 2023, almost exactly 5 years after the release of the first film, which came out on September 7, 2018. While less than 5 years will have passed in the film's timeline, here in the real world, it's been a while since a Nun solo feature was released. But 3 other Conjuring universe films have come out since then: The Curse of La Llorona and Annabelle Comes Home, both in 2019, and 2021's A Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Unsurprisingly, most of the plot details about The Nun 2 haven't been made public, but according to the studio's official description, we know that it will take place 4 years after the first film. A priest has been murdered and the evil behind it is spreading. As a result, Sister Irene, our hero from the first movie, is returning for duty. After battling the evil spirit in the original flick, she's a savvy demonologist this time around, and the only one who's seen this kind of carnage before.
It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too.
The film's trailer promises that those who watch The Nun 2 will finally discover the truth behind the greatest evil in the Conjuring universe. Other than that, we don't know much else about the upcoming sequel. Warner Bros. Seems to be keeping the plot strictly under wraps. The Nun 2 is bringing back 2 key actors from the first film, Taissa Farmiga and Bonnie Aarons. Farmiga, who's perhaps most famous for starring in multiple seasons of American Horror Story, plays the heroic Sister Irene. As for Aarons, who's been in films including Mulholland Drive and Silver Linings Playbook, she'll be reprising the part of the titular nun herself, also known as the demon Valak. Sister Irene won't be the only one trying to stop Valak's reign of evil, of course. Farmiga will be joined by Storm Reed as another brave nun hoping to defeat the demon. Reed is an up-and-coming star who's been a part of a number of notable projects in recent years, including The Invisible Man, Euphoria, and The Last of Us. Reed shared her excitement for the upcoming horror flick with Collider, saying, "The character I play is incredible. I think she really adds some funkiness to the story, and I love that. It is scary, but there are so many character arcs in the film and so many emotions and journeys that the characters have to go through. I think it works perfectly, and is something that is going to turn into a thing that people really love to watch." Rounding out the cast is Anna Popplewell from the Chronicles of Narnia series, playing a widowed mother. She'll be joined by Caitlin Rose Downey of The Princess, and Jonas Bloquet, who plays the character Frenchie, who was possessed by Valak at the end of the first movie. James Wan has become one of the biggest names in 21st century horror. He's a co-creator of the original Saw franchise and the Insidious series. He's also the driving creative force behind the Conjuring universe. Wan directed the first 2 Conjuring films and produced all 8 installments of the franchise up to now, receiving story credit for many of them. He continues to guide the highest-grossing horror franchise as one of its main creative voices. Wan has recently branched out in his directorial outings with DC's Aquaman series and his original horror film Malignant, so it doesn't seem likely that he'll return to direct another The Conjuring entry, but that doesn't mean that he's said goodbye to the franchise just yet. Wan returns as an executive producer for The Nun 2, proving that his influence over the future of the series remains intact. After all, what is The Conjuring without James Wan?
It's bittersweet for me to pass the baton on.
The first Nun film was directed by Corin Hardy, but the English filmmaker won't be returning for the sequel. Instead, directing duties have gone to Michael Chavez, who's well-versed with the ins and outs of the Conjuring universe. Before helming The Nun 2, Chavez sat in the director's chair for both The Curse of La Llorona and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. It's clear that producers James Wan and Peter Safran have great faith in his ability to bring the scares. In an interview with Screen Rant, Chavez spoke highly of his working relationship with Wan, saying, "Honestly, I owe my career to James Wan. I've been a fan of his, just like a lot of you guys. To have worked with him on La Llorona was honestly one of the best and greatest thrills." The script for The Nun 2 is coming from the delightfully twisted mind of Kayla Cooper. Cooper penned 2 of the wildest horror films in recent memory, Wan's absolutely bonkers Malignant and the blockbuster hit Megan. Cooper told Dread Central that she was especially happy she was able to create a character for Storm Reed to play, saying, "Bringing more black people into the Conjuring universe was a proud moment." As we mentioned, The Nun 2 takes place 4 years after the first movie, which was set in 1952. So both Nun movies occur somewhere between the events of Annabelle creation, which partially takes place in 1943 and 1955. The first Annabelle largely takes place in the late 1960s, and the rest of the horror franchise generally covers the 1970s and early 80s. As one of the earliest stories in this horror universe, The Nun provides an interesting backdrop to other installments. The first Conjuring movie reveals that Frenchie, eventually driven mad by Valak, later tries to kill his wife, and instead tragically kills himself.
Take Maurice here. He's a French-Canadian farmer, had nothing more than a third-grade education, yet after he was possessed, Spoke some of the best Latin I'd ever heard.
Given that The Nun 2 takes place quite a bit before The Conjuring, it may give us more insight into his internal torment. The first chapter in the Nun saga took place in Romania, shooting on location in Bucharest in 2017. The horror feature also spent some time in Transylvania, and director Corin Harding had a priest bless the set just in case any vampires showed up. The Nun 2 director Michael Chavez has moved production of the sequel to France, as Sister Irene, Frenchie, and the Demon travel westward. Production on The Nun 2 began in October 2022 and wrapped just before the new year, with everything shot on location in France. Unfortunately, we're in the dark about the exact locations where production of The Nun 2 took place, and we likely won't know much more before the film is released in the fall of 2023. But from what we can tell from the trailer, most of the film looks to take place within the walls of an abbey or convent. While each installment of the Conjuring series features the same main characters, every Annabelle solo film has focused on a different cast, following the cursed object rather than its owners. It's possible that The Nun could have followed the lead of Annabelle, but The Nun 2 seems to pursue a more traditional sequel format, with many cast members returning for the second film. At the end of The Nun, Sister Irene used the literal blood of Christ to defeat and depower the demon, who escaped by secretly possessing Frenchie in the final act. While this ultimately leads to future confrontations between Valak and the Warrens, The Nun 2 addresses what Valak is up to in the interim. It also follows what happens to poor Sister Irene. The demonic nun known as Valak is a fallen angel who was summoned through a rift in Romania during the Dark Ages. Recognizing the threat, Catholic knights sealed Valak beneath St. Cartha's monastery with the blood of Christ, keeping the demon at bay for hundreds of years. But all that changed during World War II when the abbey was bombed and the seal was broken. Valak kills all the nuns in the abbey and eventually sets its sights on Sister Irene. Though we don't know what will happen in The Nun 2, we know that the titular demon survives through Frenchie, using him to inflict Lorraine Warren with a vision of her husband Ed's death. From there, Valak is a catalyst for the events of the first Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, where it reveals itself physically, once again taking the form of the trademark nun. A demon with a similar name, spelled with a C instead of a K, is described in a number of grimoires, including the Lesser Key of Solomon. With the power to control all sorts of serpents, Valak is known as a president of demons, with somewhere between 30 to 38 legions under his control. The main heroes of the Conjuring franchise, Ed and Lorraine Warren, are demonologists employed by the Catholic Church. Based on two real-life paranormal investigators whose claims have been widely criticized, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga's fictitious versions of the Warrens are considered two of the greatest horror protagonists of the big screen.
Kooks.
Wackos.
But we prefer to be known simply as Ed and Lorraine Warren.
The Warrens briefly appeared in The Nun, connecting the ending to the first Conjuring, but there's been no confirmation that they'll return for the second installment. It's entirely possible that the film could flash forward once more, revealing something new about Valak's appearance in The Conjuring 2. Given that the first film reused a scene from the first installment, the sequel could easily pull one from the second. There's also the matter of Lorraine's vision of Ed's death, which happened in the first Conjuring movie. In The Conjuring 2, it's revealed that Valak is the demon responsible, and the creature soon hunts the Warrens and the Hodgson family. It's unclear why exactly Valak has a specific interest in Ed and Lorraine, so maybe The Nun 2 will provide some further answers, even if we know that Lorraine defeats the demon and saves her husband in the end. Every new chapter of The Conjuring reveals some twisted truths about the world. Whether they're dark family secrets, hidden sins, or the existence of otherworldly beings, each installment has us coming back for more. After 3 Conjuring and Annabelle movies, The Nun, and the loosely connected The Curse of La Llorona, you might think that The Nun 2 wouldn't have much more to offer, but we're hopeful that it will lead to fresh insights. Previous installments, including Annabelle Creation, which teased Valak's first solo film, have planted seeds for the next spin-offs or sequels. Annabelle Comes Home did it for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Even Tony Amendola's Father Perez from the first Annabelle reappeared in The Curse of La Llorona. With that in mind, it's entirely possible that The Nun 2 could have a similar impact on the forthcoming The Conjuring Last Rites. If nothing else, it's likely to give fans more insight into the true threat to Valak, and could even tease a possible return in the future. For a long time, it looked as if the Conjuring franchise was rife with spin-off potential. Not only did Valak the Demon Nun find new life outside of The Conjuring 2, but the possessed doll Annabelle inspired 3 features. The Crooked Man was long rumored to follow, but unfortunately producer James Wan confirmed in 2022 that The Crooked Man is no longer happening. Though we don't know why, it's certainly not because other spin-off attempts have done poorly. 2018's The Nun is currently the highest-grossing installment of the franchise. So far, no future spin-offs have been announced. Only The Conjuring Last Rites is confirmed to be going forward, meaning that the cinematic universe of The Conjuring could very well end with its upcoming 10th installment. However, that seems unlikely given the success of the franchise thus far. Whatever happens to the Warrens and their demons next may be a mystery, but there's no denying the staying power of The Conjuring.